All the meetings of the State Highway Commission of order. This is in District 6 outstate meeting. And so everybody knows there will be a point where we have public input. One of the main purposes we're here. Get that in a few minutes. Maud, would you please call the roll?
Yes. For the record, the State Highway Commission is assembled at the Mid Plains Community College North Campus at 1101 Halligan Drive in North Platte, Nebraska. The date is Friday, August 22nd, 2025, and the time is 8:31 a.m. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is posted in the room. Please respond to indicate your presence at today's meeting. Commissioner Koppel.
Here.
Hawks.
Here.
Kindig.
Here.
Leaf Green.
Here.
McGinnis.
Present.
Mello. Wolford.
Here. Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes.
I would make a motion to approve.
Second. Second, please call the roll.
The item in question is the approval of the June 27th meeting minutes. Commissioner Koppel.
Yes.
Hawks.
Yes.
Kindig.
Yes.
Leaf Green. McGinnis.
Yes.
Wolford.
Yes. Okay. Introductions and announcements. Dr. Kramer, would you like to have the NDOT people introduced that are here?
Of course. Vicki Kramer, I'm the director of the Nebraska Department of Transportation. I'm going to start over here with Amy Starr. We'll have our team introduce themselves.
Amy Starr, Deputy Director of Administration.
Good morning, Khalil Zuber, Deputy Director of Engineering.
Good morning, Nick Sislo, Deputy Director of Operations.
Jeff Schroeder, Chief Counsel.
Kurt.
Kurt Vosberg, I'm the district engineer in McCook.
Brady Jordan, Public Delivery Manager.
Brandon Burlock, District 1 Engineer.
Tom Starkman, Construction Engineer, District 6.
Brian Johnson, Roadway Design. Roger Plasma, District Operations Maintenance Manager, North Platte.
Aaron Sweetberg, Administrative Technician, North Platte.
That's an extension and it's so good morning, Cameron Gray, I'm the district 6.
Okay.
Let's start with welcome from the District 6 Commissioners. Good morning.
Well, welcome to District 6. I'm always proud of our district out here because we always have a great turnout. We have a lot of people that come and address and let us know what their issues might be with the highways. And as Commissioner Wolford mentioned, that's the purpose we have these outstate meetings, is to get your input on what we should be looking at. You know, we are sparsely populated out here, but we have a lot of agricultural produce and products that need to get to market. So our rural highways out here are just as important as the big highways back east. I always say that the people back east still like their steak, and the only way the steak can get to market is by our highway system. And so we also have, as Cameron introduced himself, this will be his first run at presenting to the Highway Commission. And I've always got a lot of interesting things. We met last week there and kind of covered what he's going to go over. And with that, I'll turn it over to Cameron.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to North Platte, District 6. Glad everybody's here and look forward to public involvement. I'm meeting, so. Next slide, please. So again, my name is Cameron Craig. I'm the new District 6 engineer here in North Platte. And I am excited to serve West Central Nebraska. I look forward to partnering with everybody in the room, city, counties, other officials, to keep our local transportation system robust and reliable. It's very important. A little bit about me.
Sorry, Kim.
Originally from Ogallala, so I'm Ogallala native, so I near and dear to this area of West Central Nebraska. I came out here and spent the last 20 years working for the DOT in North Platte under various roles. And most recent role, I was a construction engineer and saw all the construction on our highways and interstates across the country. I'm a licensed civil engineer by Nebraska Board and received my degree from University of Nebraska. Next slide, please. I'll be covering a few things today, and first we'll go to a little bit over District 6, some fun facts that I wanted to share, maybe a little different than some other meetings. I want to highlight some maintenance work that we do out here. It's very vital for our highway system to keep it going and reliable. I'll touch on a few current construction projects, some positive impacts that we've had in the area, and then we'll get into the 1 and 6 year program, followed by questions and the public input. So West Central Nebraska, located here, we include Heath, Lincoln, Dawson, Custer, Logan, Pearson, Arthur, Grant, Hooker, and Thomas counties. And then we also have a portion of Blaine, Cherry, Garden, and Boone counties. District is responsible for all the maintenance and construction on all of our highways and interstates, including the bridges. In District 6, we have approximately 3,000 lane miles that we take care of. That includes 192 bridges, and we have 156 center line miles of the interstate, which includes I-76. So we go with the Colorado line, basically all the way to Overton. So we have a big stretch of interstate to maintain. Our traffic out, while it's lower than eastern Nebraska, overall average on our secondary highways, a little less than 2,000 cars per day. It's everything average together. The interstate is not quite 18,000. One unique thing that we do have as we move out west is we are a large freight corridor. Anybody who's driven out there sees all the trucks. So we have about 47% trucks on the Interstate 80. So it's very important that we take care of our freight system. When looking at our pavement segments as a whole, a lot of segments that we take care of in construction projects are 8 to 10 miles in length, give or take. Our current average life since the last overlay project, reconstruction project on our projects, it's a little over 17 years. So while our pavements are in great shape, we have a Nebraska Serviceability Index where we're 84.3. The goal is 84.7. We do have a lot of segments to take care of. The age of our pavement shows it at 17. Also on this slide, wanted to highlight the maintenance areas. That's why we're leaving this up here. Not only do we build and maintain roads, but we want to keep them open during inclement weather. So District 6, when fully staffed, we have 152 employees. That includes 33 construction teammates that oversee the construction, surveying, those type of things. We have 114 maintenance employees, 3 administration, 2 traffic data counters. So when we look at the map here of those 3,000 lane miles, we have 95 separate snowplow routes that we divided that up into for our teammates, of which 27 of them are 24-hour service on the interstate. So we run those 24/7. So of the 95, we have the 27. We have multiple shifts. As far as the CDL operators to maintain those, we have 105 on the maintenance side and 23 on construction. So we utilize all of our staff in the district to maintain our roadways, especially in the winter. Our current fleet of 97 snowplows. Next slide. This slide shows our maintenance preservation program needs for 2025. So this is just on the maintenance side of the house. And this encompasses simple maintenance activities such as spot patching and crack sealing to more complex items like cold net surface repairs and chip seals. District 6 spends approximately $5.3 million annually on just materials for our maintenance side to perform this work. We strive for about 200 lane miles of chip seals per year, and that equates to about 10 projects. Really extends the life of our pavement. Next slide, please. Switching gears to our contract construction projects. This shows a very busy 2025 for our construction staff. There's 20 projects listed, including planned carryover projects. Next slide, please. Several projects be asphalt overlays, bridge repairs, concrete pavement, electrical work, helps work all across the district. Next slide. So in fiscal year 2025, we led about $130 million worth of projects, with a few projects planned to be carried over to 26 construction. So a large investment in the area. I'm glad to report that construction this season is going well. The majority of our projects are on schedule. Next slide. Now I want to highlight a few projects that great improvements to our highway system. We took a lot of planning, a lot of public involvement. I'm glad to report that we have a couple of completed. So first one shown here is before and after of Lake Loning South on Highway 83. And this was a Build Nebraska Act project that included Super 2, which created passing lanes, but it also improved intersections, improved a lot of intersections with dedicated turn lanes, and extended the 4-lane section out of North Platte to the south. All safety improvements. Next slide, please. Next one I want to talk about is also on US 83. This is southbound US 83 North Platte on Jefferson Street. The majority of this project was completed a couple of years ago, 2024. But I want to highlight this one because urban projects are very complex and take a lot of work involving multiple stakeholders, including, in this instance, the City of North Platte, and a lot of collaboration with our local stakeholders and businesses along the way. And this will lead into our sister project for the northbound on Dewey Street. It's in our 6-year program. So Dewey will look very similar to this project. Slide. Finally, I want to talk about Oglala Roscoe. This is the interstate reconstruction project that's active. And this project, the existing concrete pavement below the asphalt, built in 68. So it's our last remaining piece of original interstate in District 6. Full pavement replacement for on schedule. The eastbound lanes should go into normal traffic by Halloween, and we'll rinse and repeat for 2026 when we build westbound lanes. Next slide, please. And now I want to get into our 1- and 6-year program for District 6. You can see on the map, we've got a lot of work forthcoming, both rural and urban, and a lot of work on our interstate to maintain our assets. Next slide, please. So fiscal year 2026, I'm going to walk through each one of these projects and just give a brief summary of them. So starting at the top on Spur 86B, which services the National Forest. This is a bridge replacement at Halsey, so it's over the river bridge. On Highway 2, Broken Bow Irwin, this is the mill and resurface project. Well and South, Highway 26. This is also a mill and resurface project, which includes bridge repair on bridges over the Platte River. Highway 97 in Gothenburg. This is an urban project that will have concrete repairs and will apply a sealer to the concrete. On N61, Oglala South, this is mill and surface repair. It's much needed. Now we get into Interstate 80. We have Sutherland West. It's another mill and resurface with bridge repair. This is also a much needed project. Following our 80 project, the North Platte land scales way motion. So this will repair the scales that the trucks can drive over without exiting. So it'll be on the interstate. Continue with Brady Gothenburg on Interstate 80, mill and resurface, bridge repair. One more on Overton East, same thing, mill and resurface. This project is mill and resurface to get us the old complete reconstruction and the future. Then we have a couple projects in Tryon and in Stapleton that are urban areas, but mill and resurface with some ADA work ramps. We have 97, Tryon South, it's up in our Sand Hills section, mill and resurface, a culvert replacement, existing wooden culvert. And finally, Taylor South culvert, it's culvert repair, Custer County. Next slide. The next couple slides are our 5-year planning program. And I'm not going to read through the list on these, but I'm going to highlight a few projects. They're not in any particular order here, but first I want to talk about the North Platte Dewey Street reconstruction. Again, I touched on it earlier, we've done southbound and some northbound project is scheduled for 27 and 28 construction currently. A 2-year project, one single project, and you can go with a year southbound project. The second project I really want to touch on is another Build Nebraska Act one, is the Newberry interchange to US 30. So this is the expansion of Newberry to 4 lanes, including new structures over the interstate and the river, but also will improve the intersections at Highway 30 at Howard. This project is currently scheduled in 29 and 30. The state is working and collaborating with the city to look at possibilities to accelerate that. So we're hopeful, but currently in 29. Couple segments in our rural areas that haven't been touched in quite some time, low traffic, but the need is there. Segments really between Arthur and Tryon. So 2027, plan to work on the Tryon West segment. This will include widening the road out to a 24-foot top, similar to the other work that's been counted there. Then we'll continue in our 5-loop program to work our way across to our another project, urban project, is in Ogallala. This project encompasses a couple different segments of urban Ogallala on 26 and 30, and a couple segments that are original concrete as well. So let's be full reconstruction, includes public involvement, access control. That project's currently planned for 2028. In Custer County, Broken Bow South. I highlight this project because it's an asphalt repair project. Existing asphalt is 17 years old today, and it's starting to show its age. So our main staff is up there repairing best we can. Currently, this one is in 2029. Maxwell South. This will go from basically the Highway 30 all the way south to the interstate. This includes a new bridge across the river and fair overlay of the river. And if you look in our 5-year program, there's a large investment in I-80, our I-80 corridor moving. Several construction projects, including Sutherland West, Maxwell Brady, Overton East. Final project I want to touch on, again, is a Build Nebraska Act. It is the Wellfleet North Super 2 segment. This will be our last segment in District 6 to complete. So I'm excited that we're continues on that. This concludes my formal presentation. I'm happy to field questions at this time. Or it goes to public involvement.
Okay, we'll move into the public involvement part for the District 6 program. This is a public hearing, a formal public hearing, so if you wish to speak, please ask you to come forward, state your name, spell your first and last name for the record, and also let us know who you represent, would please. So please come forward.
Some handouts.
Here.
Good morning, my name is Eric Seacrest. And Seacrest is spelled S-T-A-C-R-E-S-T, a flat. And I'm happy to represent the North Platte Chamber of Commerce and Development. Gary Pearson, the president of that organization, is here He will attempt to clean up any mistakes and damage I have done. That's fun. It's enjoyable to have you here. Thank you. I recognize many familiar faces who have served the state on this commission for a long time. And it's important work. The highways are essential to Nebraska. And it's great that the public has a chance to talk about them periodically. And also applaud the people of the Department of Roads and the people who control our highways. They help save lives and make our state a much better place. I would like to begin with a little story. There was a picture was on there, reminded me of the intersection with South Maloney Drive and Highway 83. There's a woman whose name was Betty. She and her husband lived out the lake many years. One day she drove down to that intersection, tried to get to town. And terrible things could have happened back then before the improvement. I saw many near awful misses. And that day she got out there and was in a near miss. She thought she was going to die. She turned right away to her home, told her husband, and never going through that intersection again. And we are going to move. That is the impact of bad situations on our highways that you work so hard to prevent. And that's why I enjoy pushing for good roads. They're the first infrastructure that any community has. We're going to talk about another intersection. So what the hell am I talking about? This is an intersection between North Platte and Hershey, where this community and this county are developing a rail park. There's Hershey, North Platte's this way. This is the railroad main line of the Union Pacific. There's about 300 acres out here that are being developed into a rail park with access to the railroad. Highway 30, there's no turning, no good intersections on that road. And we need to rebuild the intersection that allows for safe turning of trucks to and from the rail park. And like many communities around the state, often the Department of Transportation gets involved with opportunities for economic improvement and opportunity. This is one of them. We urge your help with this. The significance of this is North Platte has never been able to have a decent industrial rail park. Right here. Biggest railroad yard in America. One of the busiest freight corridors. This whole area has not been able to use it. Finally, there's an opportunity to do so. And it not only depends on the access to the railroad, depends on the access to transportation service system and highway 30. This is a huge project for this area. Working on it for decades, trying to get the location, trying to put together the land, to get all the stakeholders cooperating. Finally, it's happening, and help from you to have a decent intersection. Appreciate it all. I was happy to know and hear again from District Engineer great that finally the improvements on Newberry access road between the interstate and Highway 30 are in your book. They're being designed. This project was anticipated decades ago, when the road was built as a two-lane road. Additional land was acquired so that it could be eventually a four-lane road, because that was anticipated. And this project, it's hard to say is overdue, but that's the past. The important thing is you're addressing it now, and you have no idea how important it is and how much people are anticipating this improvement. The 2 years ago, we met out here, we talked about this project, and in the 2 years since, there now is the third stop operating there. How many intersections? America have 3 large truck stops. And not only that, recently the sustainable beef plant opened, and it's ramping up to full employment of 800 employees. Their vehicles, the trucks coming in, refrigerated trucks going out. This is a huge project that's been anticipated for long. And we cannot stress how much we would love to see it move a little faster, get here a little sooner, and how important your involvement in making this incredible corridor along Newberry such a hub of dynamic activity that is totally fitting in Nebraska. Transportation, trucking, Walmart distribution, Amazon distribution now, beef processing. This is the heart of Nebraska out here and belongs to. This is the center of world-class beef production. And it's just so fitting, and your role in this is huge. The North Platte is in an interesting situation in terms of its geography and its geology. It's located between 2 rivers. Most of the people located between 2 rivers, divided by the busiest railroad corridor in East Western America. And there's a small number of access roads to get in and out of this town. To get in and out of most of North Platte, you have to go past one of about 7 points. And in the southwest part of town, where about half the people live, there is no way out to the south or southwest. And you can walk by a road, you can walk by a river. River's the biggest problem, and lack of roads. There is the potential of a catastrophe in this community all the time, because we have this huge rail yard with all kinds of traffic coming through. And we've been fortunate, it hasn't happened yet. Other communities have not been so fortunate, they've had disasters. And we need another way out of our community to the southwest. Means we need a new corridor and we need access to the interstate west of all that. This would reduce, we have a lot of people have to go out of their way to go west, they have to go east. And they end up on the busiest corridor, the 83 corridor, which has about 80% of our accidents of any significance. Now, we can blame the people that designed the locations, the interchanges 50 years ago, all which is pointless, but we can do something about it. The state transportation in other parts of Nebraska have made incredible contributions with the additions of new interchanges that were not contemplated originally, but that were added. Each one, those additions, was a hard fight. But the result of those additions were extraordinary. The interchange and the corridor around South Bend, going to Mahoney State Park and the strategic there, the Man Museum, North 27th Street, Lincoln, Locust Street corridor interchange in Grand Island. Most recently, they call it East Bypass. Every one of these has produced amazing results, and it wouldn't have happened except for this group of people, you and the Department of Transportation. I very much appreciate the department's help and cooperation and working with local people and figuring out where the heck a corridor can be located intelligently and how it might be built. Finally, we are blessed in Nebraska to be part of this incredible access to 80, Highway 80, exit 80, an amazing corridor. It's the busiest corridor in America, and this is the western end of it, of the real busy part right out here. And the most important thing the Department of Transportation can do can be continuing to keep it the single best way across America, and the single best and safest connection between the East and the West. And this is a big challenge because of the big and growing truck traffic. Congested segments and delays anywhere in Nebraska, anywhere along I-80, affect the entire state. All of us have an interest in making sure that it is as delay-free as possible anywhere. Interstate in Omaha has the most delays due to traffic congestion. And the delays in getting through Omaha are significant, and they do deter finding solutions. This is from people out west saying it's important. If you can't get through Omaha, people will start looking for other ways to get across America, and that's not in the state's interest. West of Lincoln, the state is benefiting by reducing traffic congestion by adding a third lane on the interstate wherever it's wanted, and we applaud that. It's too bad it's so darn expensive, but it's needed. I'm sure you hear over and over again how it's more and more difficult to drive an interstate. That is one big challenge for this group and the department. And that we applaud your work on that. And thank you for the very important work you do. It's extraordinary in its significance and benefits for our state. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave a copy of this for somebody.
Yes, please. We'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Back here.
Commissioners, my name is Gary Pearson, that's spelled Garyperson. I'm president of the North Platte Area Chamber and Development Corporation, the combined Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Corporations. My good friend Eric, already gave you the details of what's going on in the park. I just wanted to kind of put add to it, kind of a timeline, on the development itself, which obviously would affect traffic. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your service. I grew up in a household where my dad was a county highway superintendent. So I lived with the importance of roads all my life. So I understand it very well and your mission and how difficult it can be too. So I really admire what you do. We have a very unique situation with Rail Park, which Eric outlined, but we also married it up with the first inland port authority in the state of Nebraska, called the Nebraska International Port Authority. In fact, Jim Hawks serves on he's the chair of a 9-person board that's been appointed by the county commissioners. Commissioner Bruns is in the audience. He was very instrumental in helping get that designation. But it gives us a lot more firepower at the rail park, being able to attract potential industry here. The timeline is we're hoping that in working with the inland port, there is a drop and pull yard transload area that's being designed. Final design should be ready soon. We're hoping to get that bid out this fall. Construction start either late this year or early in the spring. That will give us the capability of a lot of entities, businesses, farmers, ag people who have specialty crops, having rail access for the first time in 80 years. Wow. Right now, they're needing to take their products either to Council Bluffs, Iowa, Denver, or Kansas City. So we'll be able to do that commerce right here and keep it at home, and we'll continue to see value-added ag things happen with time. We're very close to signing the deal with our first transload customer. The railroad has already approved this for rail access. We just need to sign the documents to finalize that. And then they've also designated us the first Nebraska focus site for Union Pacific Railroad meeting for a preferred site to do business. They've approved all aspects of the rail park being properly designed. We're also very close to signing our first industrial project, manufacturing company that's actually based in California. A bunch of California investors who have, one of them had a previous relationship with us on a different project, and we're working hard to get that deal signed. So that would take roughly a little over a year to build, as will the transload area. And then over time, we'll nurture the whole development out there. So it will continue to grow. In proximity, we expect a lot of traffic in and out of there, especially with the transload area. And then as we grow the manufacturing base or value-added ag processing companies coming in, we expect somewhere between 500 and 1,000 employees potentially down the road. But this is a long-term development. State of Nebraska is very involved in this too, providing us some funding. And we have a 10-year plan which to get it developed. And we're on a good track right now to make that happen. So we feel this really gives us the diversification in our economy. North Platte, where we hadn't had that opportunity previously. You look at North Platte and the size it is, one of the largest community this side of Kearney, on this side of the state of Nebraska. We only have one manufacturing company. Now we have two, thanks to sustainable beef coming in, but that's real rare for a community our size, and it's largely because that door's been closed to rail access. So this really is a step forward for us, and gonna need to work with you folks in the future and keep you informed what's going on, and we'll get to do that. So thanks again, service, opportunity to see.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
My name is Lane Grossa, LaYneGroseph. I'm city administrator for the city of North Platte. And I'm not here to ask for anything. I just want to thank you for the partnership we've had with the state transportation and the projects that have already been done, and the projects that are in the works, because really improve some of the safety and going through our community, as well as just the trafficability and the the access. So just wanted to give a thanks and a shout out to the department for all the work that we do together. It's a pleasure to work with everyone in the department, and we have a good working relationship between the city and the department, and I just thank you for that.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Werblow, Werblow. Wasn't sure if this was an opportunity to speak or not. I appreciate your work this morning. I appreciate the commission and Cameron, yours, and Renault, Gray, Cameron, and I appreciate the job that you do. And I am here this morning as the county superintendent of Pearson County. Pearson County is the least populated county in Nebraska, and it's the fifth least populated county in the United States. We have heard a lot about development in this area, and Pearson County has about 600 residents, just a little short of that. We're land rich and cash poor, and we have about 50 miles of pavement that we have to take care of. About half of that is 10 feet wide. That's a lot of pavement. I'm dividing the road because we have a lot of traffic that's semis that meet each other. Talk about moving cattle, for example. They move cattle out there and the grass off and and to have two semis moving on a 10-foot wide strip of asphalt, so a little dicey. And I understand that it's not a district challenge here, and I understand, appreciate Cameron so much because those guys work hard and Jim works hard to improve our highway state. And I understand too that as a group, it's a little difficult to address something that's on a county level. I didn't know whether I should speak now or I should speak later, so I chose the committee. It's in Campus District, but just appealing, I guess, on behalf of the county, because our limited resources make it very difficult for us to maintain what we have. And we are in a position now of converting a lot of our asphalt roads to gravel, just simply because we can't maintain asphalt, as you know, increased the price because of the cost of oil and principally because of the cost of transportation on the land. And that affects your budget tremendously. And it makes it difficult for you to meet your own needs besides during our appeal. But just to raise the issue, I guess, of going from the extreme of the development that's occurring in our valley and what we are 40 miles away in Pearson County, trying to keep up with the needs that we have for emergency vehicle access and for transportation needs. It's just difficult. So I wanted to lay that out in front of all of you as people that are burdened, and it's a burden, to guide the state on a whole to prioritize transportation needs. And just want to lay out what our issue is in our county. And I don't know whether there's any way or help that we can get, but anything we can get, we appreciate. But I think ultimately it looks like for us, widening roads is more important than having pavement, and we're willing to sacrifice the pavement to get a wider road. And of course, most of our county is sand. Sand is very difficult in the ground, and it's very rural. So we have to be very careful about whatever it is that we improve. So just want to take a few moments, address that with you. I appreciate your time, appreciate your work. Thank you for that.
Sir, is the 10-foot road that you're referring to, is that on the state highway system?
No, I'm sorry, it was on our county roads. Yeah, and there are roads that we're responsible.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else wishes to speak? Seeing none. Move on. Next item on the agenda is, we do have some non-district six items to keep projects moving with the department. So the next item is Highway 66 on Louisville with Brian Johnson.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here. I'm Brian Johnson in Roadway Design in Lincoln, Nebraska. And this is the N66 connection in Louisville. Agenda on that is the project purpose and need, project overview and scope of work, design features, public involvement, cost and schedule, and a commission recommendation of the following: the approval of the project location and the design. Purpose of this project is to connect the discontinuous route of N66 through the city of Louisville by providing an at-grade crossing of the Union Pacific Railroad tracks to reduce traffic using city streets that was necessary to travel to the disconnected segment of the existing N66 route, and to eliminate conflicts between trains and vehicles by closing 3 at-grade crossings of the UP tracks, improve N50, N66 intersection with a northbound offset right turn and southbound left turn, as N66 is currently the only state route within the Nebraska highway system which has a discontinuous route. The Nebraska Department of Transportation identifies the need for railroad grade separation structures by considering the following: the potential numbers of conflicts between the road users and the trains, known as the exposure factor, traffic delays, crash costs, but this, the highway rail crossing of NP or of N66 and UP does not meet these NDOT thresholds for considering grade separation. Thus, an at-grade crossing is needed. To kind of explain how this whole system of highways lays out in the Louisville area, Highway 50 runs north and south on the westerly side, and N66 comes from the west and ties into N50. And within our log manual of all the state highway routes, it lists N66 tying in with N50 at this reference post 110. And then it jogs north 1.35 miles referenced on N50. So it attaches to N50 up to 5th Street. At that point, it separates from N50 and heads to the east on city streets. At that point, it temporarily ends state maintenance, and that is for 0.13 miles. And to kind of bring that up a little bit better, more detail for you there. N66 comes in on 5th Street, stops at Main Street, and that's where the end of maintenance occurs. And then the locals who know about this, they go around on Main Street, 3rd Street, and Walnut Street to retie into N66. And if you take a look at the view on N66 coming into town, we have the sign there that even says 66 ends, and the other signs that direct them to the right up Walnut Street to get back and to resume into N66 on N50 north of this location of 3rd Street. It's just the locals that kind of go around this route knowing this is a shorter way to get around. So N66 is a discontinuous route. And then we resume the maintenance on that Coop Avenue. It's 5th Street, but they call it Coop Avenue on that side. And that's how they head out of town on N66 to the east. This project will be connecting the gap for one continuous highway route. The overview of the project: N66 is to be connected within Louisville with a signalized at-grade crossing of the Union Pacific Railroad. Varying 2-lane roadway cross sections. Alignment alternatives and preliminary design are complete. Public involvement was held May 29th of this year. And a final environmental categorical exclusion, or CE, document will be submitted to Federal Highway later this year. Scope of the work. Showing you right there in the red box, that is where the connection is going to be occurring within Louisville. And that is how the preliminary plan is right now that we are proposing to do. We're going to be connecting N66 within Louisville by constructing a new alignment on 5th Street between Main and Walnut. construct a signalized at-grade crossing of the Union Pacific track with 2 siding tracks removed. And so there's the signalization of the west track there. That is the main track. And Union Pacific will be removing the 2 siding tracks as part of this project. And then there will be pedestrian accommodations provided along N66. Moving to the west of that, as we come from the N50 intersection, improvements on Fifth Street from N50 to Main Street will be occurring as well. Going to be doing some trench widening. And that is in the blue. It's got to move a little bit. And the curb replacement, that is further east of that. And then mill and inlay the entire asphalt section of that roadway. On the N50 section here, so I'm rotating N50 there, north is angling to the right. At that intersection of N50 and N66, turn lanes will be added. Have a northbound offset right turn lane and a southbound left turn lane. Then there will be 3 existing at-grade UP crossings closed as part of getting this new at-grade crossing. That first one is up the north end of the Louisville at Walnut. And I've rotated this to the having north angle to the right. That North Walnut Street will be shifted into a reverse curve to combine 2 Union Pacific crossings into a single crossing. And that existing crossing, or that will remain, is in red. And the proposed crossing closure is in black here. And we have a driveway to the south there, to the bottom there. That's the Ash Grove cement plant that will also be coordinated with. And signalization will be added to the existing Union Pacific track, as we have some already existing on the BNSF track to the north of that. The second crossing that'll be closed is on 6th Street, which is on the southern part of Louisville. And at this location, we have the main track on the west side again, that'll be closed to an at-grade crossing, and we will be removing, or Union Pacific part of this project will be removing the siding tracks. And there's a separate local project to replace the 6th Street bridge that we have here. They'll be occurring simultaneously in that same construction year, and we'll be doing an immense amount of coordination with the local traffic and residents to make sure this works properly. The third existing at-grade crossing is south of town, about 3 miles on Mill Road. And that is on a Cass County gravel road. And they have agreed to close this crossing, as they have a bridge to the west side that was in need of repair, and they are going to be removing that bridge. The design features different typical cross sections on N66 and starting at N50 intersection there to the high school driveway and heading east. That'll be segment A, as shown here. We have just mill and fill of the existing asphalt to get us a 12-foot driving lane, 6-foot shoulders, and the guardrail will remain as is. And then further east, the high school driveway to Cherry Street, segment B. And then that location, that's where the 2-foot trench widening is going to be occurring. Mill and fill of the existing asphalt to get us a 12-foot drive lane, a 2-foot shoulder, and 4-foot turf beyond that for the shoulder. And then from Cherry Street to Main Street, it's segment C. In that location, we have a lot of curb already, but it has varying widths to that. So we're going to rebuild that curb to get a consistent 12-foot lane through that location and mill and fill that area as well. From Main to Walnut, that is segment D, and that is our shifted connection of this gap that we have there with N66. And you can see it's a dead-end street, and then there's a creek, and then after that you can see further beyond that N66 resuming. There's the existing center line of this 5th Street, and we're going to be shifting 24 feet to the north. We've already purchased the house on the left there, that blue house, that'll be removed. And we'll have a roadway section of 12-foot driving lanes, 6-foot shoulders, curbs in between that, and then a sidewalk to the north. And then across the bridge 12-foot drive lanes, 6-foot shoulders, and then a sidewalk behind a barrier on the bridge. The other segment, or the final segment, segment E, is up on North Walnut Street, where that reverse curve is occurring. And now this time I have north angle straight up. And there we have the reverse curve occurring and the driveway to the Ash Grove cement facility. And that'll have a 12-foot driving lane, 3-foot shoulders, and curbs on both sides. The environmental assessment and preliminary design have been doing an enormous amount of reviews with that. We've done the wetlands, the hazardous materials, threatened and endangered species, noise and air, historic properties and archaeology, parks and rec facilities, utilities, the alternatives analysis, public involvement, and selection of preferred alternative. And that final C document, again, will be submitted to Federal Highway later this year. The public involvement occurred, this project has been going on for quite a long time with the Louisville people. And they've been wanting to see some kind of connection for a long time, some sort of way to get N66 around Louisville. So in the 1990s, that project development began by looking at a Louisville South bypass, as you see there, where it goes along the southeast side of town. And it actually had an at-grade crossing of the UP Railroad at that point. But mid-2000s, that project was scuttled due to impacts and lack of funding. And then in 2019, that project resumed planning phase by focusing on an at-grade crossing of the Union Pacific here on 5th Street that we are proposing now today. In 2025, the public information open house was held to show the local public the proposed N66 connection. And that was held here at Louisville High School on May 29th of this year. Had approximately 106 people in attendance, received 26 comments. And those comments range from overall project support, questions about the railroad crossing closures, where and why they were occurring, impacts to residents on existing 5th Street. Because there are 3 residents who were on a dead-end street who are now going to be having a highway going in front of them. And questions about they have 6th Street being constructed at the same time right behind them. And we just want to make sure they're going to be coordinated with to have access to the residents at all times. And then protected devices for pedestrians after that connection is available, because some of the sidewalks really had just that dead end street behind. Now they're going to have live traffic on it, and wanted to make them sure that the traveling public can see them when they come down this new N66 connection. And they asked about the possibility of a roundabout on that N50 and N66 intersection. Our traffic personnel reviewed it, and it is not warranted with the amount of traffic we have in that area. But this whole area is going to be changing with this project and the other projects we have in the area as well. So we're going to be continually evaluating that intersections to see what we need to do in the future if there's another project we need to do to improve that intersection. And comments, responses have been made and sent out. Looking at the pedestrian accommodations and other closures, this new at-grade railroad will be open to pedestrian traffic, and they will be able to head east, tie into the city sidewalks. Going west, they will have access towards the high school west of Main Street. And then there's also pedestrian crosswalk across this new N66 connection on Main Street. And that is the one where the people were really concerned, because it was a dead end street before. Now you're going to have pedestrians going across a live highway there. They want to make sure that that is very visible for the traveling public to see that crosswalk. So we're looking at different things we can put out there to make that as visible as possible. On 6th Street, that existing 6th Street at-grade railroad crossing is not only closed to the traveling public, it is also closed to pedestrian traffic. And we will have the sidings removed again as part of this project. Pedestrians will be able to use the 6th Street Bridge and then head south from that. And anybody who is on the sidewalks on the east side will have to head back to city sidewalks that way. And that is an ongoing coordination too. The city of Louisville is looking at sidewalks and providing connectivity for their pedestrians throughout the city, and coordinating with us to make sure this is going to be an integral part of what we do and in the future, so it works for the pedestrian. On 3rd Street, north of here, that at-grade railroad crossing is going to remain open, but we are removing the siding track, but pedestrian traffic will be able to use that after that's completed. Taking a look at the schedule and costs, we are right now in final design, and we have the right-of-way acquisition occurring. We're looking at having this completed by early 2026 to have the bid letting sometime summer of 2026. And construction can begin in the fall and be completed by the fall of 2027. Both this project and that 6th Street project that I mentioned as well. Estimated cost for just the N66 connection project is about $9 million. That's a collection of federal, state, and city of Louisville. So the requested actions are that the NDOT request the Highway Commission recommendation of the following: approval of the project, location, and design. And with that, any questions you may have about it?
Is the community participation and involvement been overwhelmingly supportive of the design and the project? Reasonably supportive or less than supportive?
I would say it's at the top level. They have been excited about this for a long time. They've actually been quite frustrated how long it has taken to get to that point.
I think as with any project where you're going to see impacts this large, you're going to have a few that are very concerned. I think roadway design and the district have done a great job of explaining those impacts, minimizing where we can in order to still deliver the project. So great job, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, we had 109 people show up for the public hearing in a community the size of Louisville. I think that speaks volumes to their interest in it, and if they're supportive of it, I think it's a good idea.
And yeah, a good point on this is the three closures that we have as we move forward. Union Pacific, Senator Clemens has been very supportive of this project and very vocal of the need to move it forward. But with the 3 closures, that presents challenges both for the county and the state and the city. And so it is a challenge. We worked through it, but this has been something that just back in the last 2.5 years, it's been probably one of the top 5 projects that we've had coordination on, from the governor's level all the way to the legislature. Down there.
Oh, real quick. You said originally they were looking for a design for a true bypass to the south.
Yes.
And how long ago did you decide not to work on that bypass to the south?
That ended sometime in the year 2000, I can't remember, 2005-ish range.
Okay,
20 years ago.
Yeah,
okay. So they've known that they're not going to get this for quite a while.
right. And that was
Okay.
part of the frustration, yeah.
Any questions? Okay,
Chair,
so everybody knows we're passing a resolution and not just a straight motion, so.
What's the percentage? You've got federal, state, and local. What percentage is local?
Very small amount for the sidewalks. It was like $150,000.
Louisville is not a first-class city, so they don't have the 20%. This is just betterment in their system, and so they're being paid for their share.
is the chair looking for a
Yes.
resolution 2025-5?
Yes.
So
Second.
Okay, moving seconds. Any further discussion? Would you please call the roll?
The item in question is the approval of resolution number 2025-5. The Nebraska Department of Transportation requests the State Highway Commission recommend to the governor approval of NDOT's design for the Highway 66 connection in Louisville project on the state highway system as required by Nebraska Revised Statute 39-13092. Commissioner? The motion has been made and seconded. Commissioner Koppel,
yes.
Hawks,
Yes.
Kindig,
Yes.
Deep Green,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Mello.
Yes.
Who did join this vote? Wolford.
Yes. Okay. Motion passes. They'll pass them around the resolution for everybody's signature. I'll do that. The next item on the agenda is the director reports.
Thank you. I do want to follow up and just close out that project, or close out the two projects, which is land use. To make this project a reality, there has been, as I said, interaction by the lieutenant governor, the chief of staff, the governor, senior appointments in order to make this an actual reality. So as much as it's just signing a piece of paper today, for the department, this symbolizes a lot of work that's happened over the last 25 years. So I want to thank the district as well as whoever is signing, Bill and others who have been persistent on making sure that we have this project. So thank you for that. I also want to thank the community. We did have the opportunity to come into town yesterday and speak with North Platte on the different projects of note within the community. And so very much appreciate their support as we work through this. Like this is long, to leave, but it is important that when the commission does come in, that the department also comes in and we have to make sure that they take the opportunity to connect with the communities. And especially when we're having a public meeting, want to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity, whether they agree or not, in order to voice their concern. As we heard, and the governor and I were just in Oklahoma earlier this week, speaking with the community about their transportation needs. Continue to hear across all districts, communities have projects that they know are going to improve economic development within their area. The department continues to be challenged with what we can provide because of the resources that we have. And the commission is well aware of the resource constraints that we've had over the last several years. And those continue to be forecasted as a problem going forward. And so we'll take every opportunity to work with the legislature and the governor's office to make sure that it's understood what the impacts of those resource constraints are, especially at a time where the state is also in a resource constrained environment. It's important to understand the context of what we're looking at. And so just as a reminder, we are primarily funded through gas tax. As you know, the average person pays about $192 a year in gas tax. And so as we look at how we broaden our overall revenue streams, we'd like to take the opportunity to remind people about what we invest in our transportation infrastructure. Because as we heard, the two major impacts are economic development and safety. We want our communities to be safe. We want our communities to continue to grow. But with resource constraints, we're going to continue to have conversations about projects that were referenced 20, 30 years ago that we want not getting to for another 20 to 30 years. So our emphasis continues to be the same. We're going to take care of our existing assets and make sure that they're in a state of good repair. Unfortunately, we do have districts like that is under what we want to see it on the NSI. So we're going to do our best. I do think that the 70 million that the state got in ARPA funds 2 years ago is helping us make a small little dent in that, just because it's some of those areas that we maybe would not have been able to touch because of the ADT. They weren't a cost benefit that we see, but it does improve some of those ag routes, some of the spurs, some of those areas that our district engineers want to spend funds on, but don't always have the resources to do so. So we'll continue to look for opportunities to increase the NSI across the state, especially in our rural areas where we know it is applicable to the ag community and to the manufacturing. While still making sure that we can meet the desires and the expectations of the legislature on completing the expressway system. We've had significant progress over the last 10 years, with only one project remaining that is in design and hopefully going to be a community. That is the last project within the original BNA. So that kind of closes out that piece. The department has had a very busy summer of construction, especially on the interstate. It's hard for anyone who is out and about to not feel the impacts of construction. We take those things very seriously because the impacts of construction goes everything from agitation to unsafe environments. And so especially where we have construction in high volume areas, please take the opportunity to talk to your friends and your family and everyone you know about the importance of being diligent and booking work zones. We do hope to come back to the legislature with an emphasis on safety this coming year. The governor has been incredibly supportive. I can't think of a governor in recent history who has paid this much attention to transportation and the impacts of it holistically, both on the funding side, the resource side, as well as the safety side. So we took them out to an active construction zone and also an LOL project so they experience firsthand what our contractors and our maintenance folks are dealing with in a construction zone under live traffic. Lieutenant Governor has done the same thing. We've had several members of the legislature also get the opportunity to experience it. Because if you haven't had your hair blown through the wind from a 18-wheeler going past you, you might not fully understand and appreciate what our maintenance folks go through every single day. And so very much appreciate the governor doing that, as well as Lieutenant Governor and members of the legislature have shown that interest, because once you experience it, you're more likely to support it, you're more likely to understand and listen to us. And we feel that the proposals we had in the legislature last year, both on work zone cameras, as well as in the hands-free bill, Senator Prokop's hands-free bill, 594, really did resemble a way in which we can make our roads safer. So we hope to come back to the legislature with those two pieces next year. As I mentioned, the construction, but the resource constraints that we do have a pretty good fall letting schedule ahead of us. We did go ahead and put out to letting the advertisement Niobrara project that we've been talking about for the last 20, 25 years. And so we're hopeful that we're going to see some bids on that project, hopeful to see competition. We'll update you as we come into the fall meeting of the Highway Commission, because it is a project that really, as talking to my peers across the country, I've not seen another project this complex in terms of the funding structure. So if you'll remember, that project's being funded through the judgment fund. And so we're working closely with the Attorney General and the Governor's office to make sure that Attorney General Bondi, as well as the leadership from the Corps of Engineers on the civil works side, understands the importance of getting that settlement turned around quickly so we can deliver that project to that community. Big project, long time coming. We want to get that done and move forward. So our contractor, when selected, can. We've also had high-profile jobs. Commissioner McGinnis, obviously, we were able to move forward on Lincoln West Beltway. Happy to see those bids come in and be able to start working on some of those projects where we had team with local communities. And there is an impact both on the city of Lincoln as well as NDOT on completing the Beltway. So progress is happening. And we're doing it at the same time that we are having those conversations on resource constraints. The department did support the first meeting of the task force that was created under LB 558, which is bringing the conversation of resource constraints into the mainstream, because of the Star Hope. And so we are working with Senator Von Gillerin on what this looks like. As of now, we are really focused on just creating a baseline literacy when it comes to transportation funding. Many of you have had the opportunity to be in this industry for 20 plus years. You can understand our funding struggles, but also the revenue streams are different, right? And how we use the variable and how sales tax to motor vehicle registrations, to gas tax to VNA, all impact our overall ability to move projects on a real-time basis. And so we're communicating to the legislature our different revenue streams, how we manage them, and how we really do get dollars out in a real-time basis in order to make it work for citizens. And so we're pretty proud of the work we do in that area. And so it's an opportunity for us to communicate to the public through the legislative body, how we deliver projects and what we can deliver with what we have. And really let the legislature and the governor's office decide if this is an opportunity for us to take a hard look at how we run transportation in the state, or if they're good with the status quo, and really manage expectations that go along with that status quo. And what it means for the projects that we all talked about, and the projects that are not really even on the horizon, communities feel that they need. Along those lines, we do continue to meet and work closely with the federal delegation, as well as MHWA and USDOT leadership. We have several grants pending. We do expect to have a rather good fall, whether it's small grants that we've been working a lot on the planning side, or larger grants as we're putting them together. The higher volume and the higher dollar grants will start becoming available here this fall. And so we are actively getting ready to make sure that we can act on the governor's intent and fully going after all the federal funds that are available. So Infrastructure Hub is doing the same for our local partners. Had very, very good success with it. Jody and Jenna and Dina have been out talking to communities, meeting with communities, continue to encourage you as you get feedback from your communities about, hey, we need this project or we need to do this. Ask them if they've worked with the infrastructure hub, because that's a way for us to gather those projects and make sure that they're being developed, not in a vacuum of the community, but within the scope of what it means to be a federalized project. And we can help understand what the public support for that project is, what the impact of that project is anticipated to be. And then we can help identify the available revenue streams and funding that could be associated with that project in the future. Understanding it could be several years, it could be decades, but we want to get started on those and make sure that we support the communities and confident in meeting those federal funds. So very proud of the work that the infrastructure hub has been doing on those different pieces. We did also see the US DOT and FHWA come out with new guidance around the NEVI program. It is, I would say, relaxed guidance. It allows us to work a little bit more with more flexibility around the alternative fuels corridors, as well as make sure that we can factor in privatized infrastructure, and so that we put NEVI locations for electric vehicle charging into areas that are really needed. And so we'll be working with Ryan Huff on that to understand how we implement that $30 million that is still in that pocket. More to come on those as we understand further what the guidance on the federal side means. As this program was put on hold with the Trump administration, the transition between Biden administration and the Trump administration. Closing it out, kind of where we started, the state fiscal situation. If you were watching the budget last year, you'll notice that we did end up sunsetting the EOP program early, which gave us the opportunity to pay about $6.5 million into the general fund, and making sure that we can balance our budget as a state. Rep Roads Fund also paid in $5 million. So all in all, from transportation, the pay-in amount was about $11.5 million. And so you'll remember back in 17 and 18, in the previous administration, we paid in about $15 million to balance the budget. And so we'll continue to work with the administration, make sure that the commission is aware of any proposals to take the transportation bill to factor in the general fund. It's a little bit cleaner last session because EOP was originally a general fund transfer. So we have that clean money going back out. Going forward, it would be transportation revenue. So we'll make sure that the commission is aware and has the opportunity to take any questions.
Question?
On funding and so forth, especially on I-8, has there been any dialogue talking about tollway?
There has, Indiana has applied for an application to toll their existing infrastructure. So you'll remember that US DOT and FHWA do not allow you to toll existing infrastructure in many places. There have been pilot programs out. We don't qualify under what's been looked at before. What we have done, understanding where the administration, where the federal administration is going, and as well as the Helen administration in terms of finding alternative revenue sources, specifically tied to user fees, we've looked at what would it take in order to toll either new infrastructure, or if the administration would change the way in which they allowed us to toll I-80, what would that look like? And what would we need to do? And so we currently have an application in for an accelerator program that would give us planning funds to go after and to get some consultant help in these areas. We've also passed the P3 legislation. We brought in AIAI, as well as talked with the American Bureau and FHWA and Finance. We've had all three of those groups out to talk to us about how we would implement availability payments or revenue risk type approach to transportation funding. So though it's new, we've really leaned in over the last 2.5 years into what would it mean to be, and what would it mean to be an innovative finance state, and how would we manage debt in that innovative finance state in order to make sure it didn't disrupt our asset preservation program. And so we do hope that through the P4 grant that was awarded to Napa in the Omaha area that we were part of, as well as through the accelerator, what would be the next round of planning grants, we hope to have about $6 million in this bucket to go through and really modernize our program. So if that opportunity came up from the federal, since they hold that authority, we would be able to lean into it. The feasibility of it is the biggest thing, meaning would it generate enough revenue for us, for it to even be worth the squeeze? And with it, when you introduce tolling, typically you want to make sure that there is a route that we have that is untolled, and a tolled route would be an efficiency route. We don't have that situation. The only thing that we would be looking at is really new beltways around the Omaha area or the Lincoln area. So that's where the feasibility is.
Other question?
You know, if I have it right, have trucking companies that use Nebraska I-80 for a thoroughfare, they prorate the fuel tax, like down and out of report, a tax based on fuel. Is there any way there could be a surcharge put on that portion of tax without raising fuel tax completely, but on these companies that basically just use us for a thoroughfare?
We are looking at that right now, that it obviously makes it a little difficult, but we're looking at two different things that kind of play into that. What would an I-80 surcharge look like? And what would a diesel fee look like? And so we obviously have to minimize the impact on ag. Want to understand how we get after those freight dollars. There's a few states who have done it, but we have Lynn looking at that right now as to what we could potentially pull in for additional revenue for throughput freight.
Is there any further relative to EV vehicles and how they may be paying what might be perceived as their fair share?
I think that, yeah.
Since the road and don't buy the gas.
Comparative to where we see what we see the average vehicle pay in taxes, it's pretty equal right now. And we don't have the fleet that would make it a big impact. So with the last legislative session and the increase, I do think that the equity has been reached. It's just now how do you change the equity from everyone, right? We haven't raised the federal gas tax since '93. When we raised the gas tax in 2015 at the state level, 2 cents went to the state, 2 cents went to the cities, 2 cents went to counties. And so for us, it was really only a 2-cent increase in the gas tax. And so when we look at buying power and we look at inflation rates, obviously we've started to come down from the 23% we were at, but we still hover right around 15% for construction CPI.
We do have one more public input opportunity for anybody who wants to speak about anything statewide. Or again, state and spell your name and organization.
Sir, and else.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Michael Kirby, Michael, last name is Kerby, not like vacuum. Thank you, Director, for some guidance here today. Hey, Commissioner Kendon, thank you for the invite. I'm a retiree from Nebraska State Patrol. In my over 35 years as a proud member of the patrol, I've had the honor and privilege of working with exceptional law enforcement officers all across the United States, with many of them being from my former agency. Unfortunately, some of them gave the ultimate sacrifice while serving those they took the oath to protect. Thus, the reason for me being here today. Thank you for this opportunity. As I now work in an occupation that provides me with regular days off, adequate leave time, I get a chance to sometimes travel across the United States with family and friends, and I've noticed a similar pattern of recognition in many of the states I visited. And I kind of wondered why Nebraska hasn't done the same thing. These recognitions are simple signs designating a stretch of highway, interstate, or a bridge that is designated towards the recognition of a state trooper or state police officer that lost their life while protecting the public they serve. Nebraska, we rightfully declare memorial highways for politicians who honorably serve the state, made a difference, coaches with regret, and military heroes, but no troopers. I reside northwest of Grand Island, and while traveling east on Interstate 80, I routinely pass the Hampton interchange, where a friend and campmate, Michael Farber, badge number 427, was struck and killed by a fleeing juvenile in 1980. Mike died while serving those he swore to protect. As with all Nebraska State on-duty deaths, Mike's badge was retired. It will never be issued again in recognition of his service. There's a picture of him along with 12 other state troopers that have lost their life in Nebraska. It's located on the state headquarters office in Lincoln, as well as the Nebraska State Patrol Training Academy in Grand Island. And that's a reminder of his ultimate sacrifice, and it's going to be there forever. An observation I've made over the years, after the memorial service, one of our troopers that died in the line of duty, their interment and final goodbyes. These fallen heroes, for the most part, fall into obscurity, except for those who knew them, family, friends, coworkers. Annually, during the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Week, Nebraska's fallen officers are memorialized and remembered with a wreath and a graveside service. Who attends? I already mentioned that. Family, friends, coworkers. As recipients of their service, and as Nebraskans, I do think we can do better. My proposal would be to provide a designator such as a specifically designed public sign located in the vicinity of the place where they died in the line of duty. A bridge, as in Farber's case, state highway, or the interstate system, or a small portion of it, to serve as a constant reminder of the Nebraska State Trooper who paid the ultimate sacrifice. It's my intent to forever etch the names of our patrols fallen into the minds of Nebraska's motoring public, who they did sign on to serve. I don't know the logistics associated with completing this. I got 43 years in law enforcement. I'm pretty educated on our side of the fence. I don't know anything about your side of the fence, other than I can shut down an interstate system when the weather's bad and investigate a crash. That's my knowledge base on that. But I'm willing to do anything that I can to provide information or to help move towards a goal like this, should you feel that this is, that my proposal has some merit to it. Part of my handout today has got some information in it. One of them is a handout from the Nebraska State Patrol that gives a location of 12 of the 13 fatalities we have had, line of duty deaths. The last one has not been recorded yet. It will be added at the end of this month when the revision is made. But GPS coordinates are available, as well as I provided you with on the back side of that handout at the end, the website, so you can go there if you want and get kind of a history of what each of these officers was involved in, what they died from, how they died, and so forth. But that is for you to take a look if you so desire. Investigator Dion Newmiller with the State Patrol did the research, and I thank you for conducting that. Also, you have a letter of support on this project from the Nebraska State Patrol Superintendent Brian Waugh. Support from the retired troopers has been overwhelming. The State Troopers Association of Nebraska has a representative here today. He'll address those issues if he can. If you think this is a worthwhile project and within the established guidelines for such recognition, I await your guidance. I truly do. I have included in that packet a policy from Missouri as well as Kansas on recognition of their officers that are killed in the line of duty. I also put the Nebraska memorial policy in there, and it just doesn't seem to fit our need. But I did look at that as an option. I thank you for the time that you took today to listen to me and my proposal. If there's any questions I can answer, I'd be more than happy to try to do that now. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
My name is Scott Black, SCOTTBLACK. My testimony is in the back of the book that Captain Kirby handed you. I'm a retired Nebraska State Patrol investigator and currently the Chief Sergeant at Arms for the Nebraska Legislature. Additionally, I hold the position of retiree representative for the State Troopers Association of Nebraska's Executive Board, and speaking today for nearly 500 current Nebraska State Patrol retirees. The purpose of my representation today is to applaud the effort and add our complete and unconditional support for retired Captain Kirby's line of duty death memorials proposal. Additionally, we want to encourage this committee to move forward with making this a well-deserved and long overdue reality. The motto of the Nebraska State Patrol is pro bono publico, which translates as for the good of the public. From day one of our journey, starting with Nebraska State Patrol Training Academy throughout the 25 or more years it takes to achieve retirement, this motto sets the tone every day these officers leave their homes and families for their shift of duty until the time they hopefully return home. Most of us have been fortunate enough and successful to finish our careers unscathed, but sadly, some of our brothers in blue have not been so lucky, and unfortunately have met their fate and gave their lives serving the people of this great state. It is for this reason they have surely earned the respect and at least the minimal privilege of being recognized for their ultimate sacrifice. The proposed officer memorial sign shall be a constant reminder for the motoring public to pay attention to traffic, to drive with caution, and the opportunity to appreciate the officers they do encounter during their travels. Through both day and night, from the simplest flat tire assist to the plethora of potential dangerous situations encountered along the roadways, the troopers are there, placing themselves at risk for the protection of others. I appreciate your time and consideration for helping us to honor our legacy officers and their families. Thank you for listening to our request, and please note we can never replace those who gave all, but would love to be able to honor them in their absence. Thank you. Respectfully, Scott Black. And I'd be glad to answer any questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
If the commissioner will allow it, I'll just make a note here. I appreciate Mr. Scott's, Mr. Kirby's inputs here. We have had 2 public servants within Nebraska Department of Transportation filled under this administration, and we continue to work closely with the governor's office on how do we get people to understand and see the importance of lives on the highway. We did see improvements in the move over law this last legislative session, but we do need to do more. And so we'll continue to work with the Troopers Association as well as the administration on what we can do to both recognize those that we've lost on our highways, as well as protect those who continue to drive.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I will make a comment on this. This does not exactly, this request is not exactly meet by the current policy on naming highways. But there's also a part of this request that allowed maybe just a memorial sign. And I don't know what the rules are on that. I guess I would like the department at our next December meeting would be the appropriate place to bring back with a short presentation on what isn't allowed on this, what we can do legally, what we can't do. And then the commission could address this.
So
I guess I would offer, because December may be too late if it is the commission's wish to maybe do something legislatively. So I would offer maybe some open conversation among the commission about just in general, the feelings towards this. Is this something that you would like to see in terms of broader recognition for those who were killed on our highways? Because what you may be asking for is legislative change, and December would be too late to introduce some legislative change. So it may be good for an open conversation just in terms of your intent. Or we might ask that you come back to the department with some intent after you have the opportunity to review.
is there, Madam Director, do you think it's at a level where it's going to require legislative action, or do you think it will be over addressed by the department or commission of outlets that
I am not 100% sure either.
And that's why I said we need to do all
Yeah,
research,
Mike,
because I'm not you.
My clarity would be that if you probably do need to do something through the legislature by looking at some of these other programs, how you could handle the actual meeting. Because we have a policy right now. If you broaden that policy, you may want to go to something legislatively. And that won't happen if we come together in December. So we'll get that information back to you sooner than that, but ask that you maybe give us your intent before that, so that if we were to run a safety bill where this was part of it, we can factor in the commission's intent.
I don't have a problem with that. We can know this. We just information to the commission through email. That's not, there's a lot of, this raises a lot of questions, policy and legality, so that was my point too, so let's figure out what we can and can't do, and what has to happen if we decide on something.
No, Mike called me, I don't know, it's been a month ago or so, and, those same things we're talking about here, like that you're talking about, went through my mind. And I thought it was best that Mike would come and make a presentation, so I guess this a little bit. But I think it's a lot of merit, something we should do. It's what we should do what you have to.
Given the current authority does lie with the commission in many ways, it would be appropriate for the commission to make a formal request to the department that would then be carried through legislatively to the governor, either separate from the department or with the department's support.
Great. All right. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for your presentation. Next item is the public meetings calendar.
The Nebraska Department of Transportation, excuse me, has 2 public meetings scheduled between now and the next Highway Commission meeting. First, NDOT will hold a public information open house meeting regarding proposed improvements along Nebraska Highway 1 and Nebraska Spur 13C in Cass County. The meeting will be held at the Elmwood Fire Hall at 601 North 4th Street in Elmwood, Nebraska on Thursday, September 4th, 2025 from 4 to 6 p.m. An additional public information meeting regarding the Leota 1st Street northbound project in North Platte will be held at Harvest Christian Fellowship at 1501 South Dewey Street, North Platte on Tuesday, September 9th from 3 to 6:30 p.m. The next Highway Commission meeting will be held at 8:30 a.m. on October 24th, 2025 at Mid-Plains Community College McCook East Campus at 905 East 7th Street in McCook, Nebraska.
Thank you, Molly. There being no further business, meeting is adjourned.